The Jimmy Olsen Radio Network.
Welcome to Bible Storytime, 2 Kings 1 through 2:25. After the death of King Ahab of Israel, the country of Moab rebelled against Israel. King Uzziah of Israel fell off the balcony of the roof of his palace in Samaria and was seriously injured, so he sent some messengers to consult Beelzebub, the god of the Philistine city of Ekron, in order to find out whether or not he would recover. But an angel of the Lord commanded Elijah, the prophet from Tishbe, to go and meet the messengers of King Uzziah and ask them, "Why are you going to consult with Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? It is because you think there is no God in Israel. Tell the king that the Lord says you will not recover from your injuries, you will die." Elijah did as the Lord commanded, and the messengers returned to the king. "Why have you come back?" he asked. They answered, "We were met by a man who told us to come back and tell you that the Lord says to you, 'Why are you sending messengers to consult with Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? It is because you think there is no God in Israel. You will not recover from your injuries, and you will die.'" "What did the man look like?" the king asked. "He was wearing a cloak made of animal skin, tied with a leather belt," they answered. "It's Elijah," the king exclaimed. Then he sent an officer with 50 men to get Elijah. The officer found him sitting on a hill and said to him, "Man of God, the king orders you to come down." "If I am a man of God," Elijah answered, "may fire come down from heaven and kill you and your men." At once, fire came down and killed the officer and his men. The king sent another officer with 50 men who went up and said to Elijah, "Man of God, the king orders you to come down at once." "Well, if I am a man of God," Elijah answered, "may fire come down from heaven and kill you and your men." And at once, fire of God came down and killed the officer and his men. One more time, the king sent an officer with 50 men. He went up the hill, fell on his knees in front of Elijah, and pled, "Man of God, be merciful to me and my men. Spare our lives." The 2 other officers and their men were killed by fire from heaven, but please be merciful to me. The angel of the Lord said to Elijah, "Go down with him. Don't be afraid." So Elijah went with the officer to the king and said to him, "This is what the Lord says. Because you sent messengers to consult with Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, as if there was no God in Israel to consult, you will not get well. You will die." Uzziah died, as the Lord said through Elijah. Uzziah had no sons, so his brother Joram succeeded him as king in the 2nd year of the reign of Jeroboam, son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. Everything else the king Uzziah did is recorded in the history of the kings of Israel. The time came for the Lord to take Elijah up to heaven in a whirlwind. Elijah and Elisha sent out to Gilgal, and on the way Elijah said to Elisha, "Now stay here. The Lord has ordered me to go to Bethel." But Elisha answered, "I swear by my loyalty to the living Lord and to you that I will not leave you." So they went on to Bethel. A group of prophets who lived there went to Elisha, and said to him, "Do you know that the Lord is going to take your master away from you today?" "Yes, I know," Elisha answered, "but let's not talk about it." Then Elijah said to Elisha, "Now stay here. The Lord has ordered me to go to Jericho." But Elisha answered, "I swear by my loyalty to the living Lord and to you that I will not leave you." So they went on to Jericho. A group of prophets who lived there went to Elisha and said to him, "Do you know that the Lord is going to take your master away from you today?" "Yes, I know," Elisha answered, "but let's not talk about it." Then Elijah said to Elisha, "Now stay here. The Lord has ordered me to go to the Jordan River." But Elisha answered, "I swear by my loyalty to the living Lord and to you that I will not leave you." So they went on, and 50 other prophets followed them to the Jordan. Elijah and Elisha stopped by the river, and the 50 prophets stood at a short distance away. Then Elijah took off his cloak, rolled it up, struck the water with it. The water divided, and he and Elisha crossed to the other side on dry ground. There Elijah said to Elisha, "Tell me what you want me to do for you before I am taken away. Let me receive the share of your power that will make me your successor," Elisha answered. "That is a difficult request to grant," Elijah replied, "but you'll receive it if you see me as I am being taken away from you. If you don't see me, you won't receive it." They kept talking as they walked on. Then suddenly a chariot of fire pulled by horses of fire came between them, and Elijah was taken up to heaven by a whirlwind. Elisha saw it and cried out to Elijah, my father, my defender of Israel, you are gone." And he never saw Elijah again. In grief, Elisha tore his cloak in two. Then he picked up Elijah's cloak that had fallen from him and went back and stood on the bank of the Jordan. He struck the water with Elijah's cloak and said, "Where is the Lord, the God of Elijah?" Then he struck the water again, and it divided. And he walked over to the other side. The 50 prophets from Jericho saw him and said, "The power of Elijah is on Elisha." They went to meet him, bowed down before him, and said, "There are 50 of us here, all strong men. Let us go and look for your master. Maybe the Spirit of the Lord has carried him away and left him on some mountain in some valley." "No, you must not go," Elisha answered. But they insisted until he gave in and let them go. The 50 of them went and looked high and low for Elijah for 3 days, but didn't find him. Then they returned to Elisha, who had been waiting at Jericho, and he said to them, "Didn't I tell you not to go?" Some men from Jericho went to Elisha and said, "As you know, sir, this is a fine city, but the water is bad and causes miscarriages. Put some salt in a new bowl and bring it to me," he ordered. They brought it to him. He went to the spring, threw the salt in the water, and said, "This is what the Lord says. I make this water pure, and it will not cause any more deaths or miscarriages." And the water has been pure ever since, just as Elisha said it would be. Elisha left Jericho to go to Bethel, and on the way some boys came out of town and made fun of him. "Get out of here, Baldy," they shouted. Elisha turned around, glared at them, and cursed them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 she-bears came out of the woods and tore 42 of the boys to pieces. Elisha went on to Mount Carmel and later returned to Samaria. If you enjoyed this story, share it on social media. You can also find more stories on social media if you go to youtube.com/mybuddyjimmy or mybuddyjimmy.com.
Spinal adjustments provided by Dr. Chad Rolfson. The Spinal Tuning Chiropractic Center is a Des Moines area low flat fee per month unlimited chiropractic care practice. When life happens, just adjust. Schedule today at spinaltuning.com.
Barbecue provided by Kenny's Rib Wagon, catering ribs for your pleasure and serving daily at Plaza Pub, 62nd and Douglas in Des Moines, across from Merle Hay Mall. Find Kenny's Rib Wagon on Facebook.
The Jimmy Olsen Radio Network.